In this video, I'm going to show you exactly how I decide what to test first when I'm launching Facebook ads for a new client. I'm going to show it to you step by step so you don't set your money on fire when you're testing creatives. First thing you want to start with is to understand that there are really only two levers that you have when you're running ads. First is your data set, aka pixel, and then the second is your creative. If your pixel is not set up properly, then nothing else matters. I'll actually create a separate video explaining how to set that up properly. In this video, I'm going to cover exactly how you should be thinking about your creatives. Because 90% of the time when you're testing ads and they don't work, it's actually the messaging that isn't hitting the mark. Most people make the mistake of taking a shot on goal first. I mean, those are great because you're using your intuition to come up with some creatives. But essentially what you're doing is that you're kind of guessing what is going to work instead of starting with what the customer already cares about. So in this video, I'm going to show you exactly how to figure out what actually matters to your customer, how to turn that into a clear testable hypothesis, why I start with statics instead of UGC creatives, the exact formats that I use, how I structured a campaign for a clean test. So by the end of this video, you'll know exactly what to test and why you're doing it. Let's get into it. So if the creative is the lever, where do you start? You don't start with design and you don't start with what worked for another brand. Competitor research is important, but that's not really where you want to start. Every brand is different and the consumer insights are actually different. That's what you're really trying to figure out. The customer's self-interest, not your features, not your brand story, not how long you've been in the business. So before you test anything, you need to ask yourself, what are people already saying in your space? Meaning you're really starting with research. Where do you want to look? Reviews, yours and your competitors, Reddit forums, TikTok comments, Amazon reviews, Facebook comments, YouTube comments, support tickets, Instagram comments, anywhere that you can get consumer insight. And what you want to do after is categorize the insights into buckets: pain points, desires, beliefs, objections, and angles. You want to figure out what people are actually frustrated about. That's your pain point. What outcomes they're actually chasing. That's your desire. What do they already think is true? That's their beliefs. What narratives are emerging? Convenience, status, speed, safety, simplicity. That's your angles. So once you have this becomes your raw material. And the mistake that most people make is they jump straight into ads before getting this insight. So they end up testing surface level variations instead of testing meaningful messaging differences. Once you've mapped these out, now you're ready to produce briefs. Let's talk about how to structure that properly. So every creative you make should answer one question. What am I trying to prove or disprove? That's called your hypothesis, the most important part of your brief. If anything matters, is your hypothesis. So what you're really doing is that you're testing ideas. When I build out briefs, I have specific things that I want to include in there. First, obviously, we start with the hypothesis. Afterwards, it's your core message. What is the promise you're trying to deliver? And then you can include other things if you like angles, consumer insights that are relevant to that brief. So once you have your first few briefs, here's how you go about producing the creatives. And this is where most people actually get it wrong. Most people like to immediately jump to UGC creatives, which is not the end of the world if you do that, but ideally you like to start with statics, something that is more low-hanging, easier to produce, and something that will help you to get you clearer performance data for a clear test. Statics are basically easier to produce, faster to produce, and just better overall for directional data. So if you're going to start with statics, don't reinvent the wheel. Start with proven formats that just do well across the board. Here are some examples. Us versus them, feature point out, before and after, testimonial, headline driven static. I'll actually make a separate video going over top proven formats to give you a better sense of what you can actually start with. Now, once you finish producing those first batch of creatives, here's actually how you want to structure your campaign. First of all, you just need one campaign. And within that campaign, if budget allows it, ideally, you'd want to separate out each test or each hypothesis into their own ad set. So allocate a specific budget per test. Each test will give you performance data that you can analyze, but you should analyze several things. You should be analyzing quantitative data, which are basically the performance metrics, but also qualitative data, which is things that cannot necessarily be measured through metrics, such as formats, visual formats, for example, or the types of messaging and tone of the actual creative. What you really want to look for is patterns. If you're able to repeat success with specific patterns, then you know something is scalable and you have directional data to produce UGC creatives next. So there it is, folks. That's how you actually start testing with Facebook ads. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to just leave comments in this video. I'll be happy to help out. I just started this YouTube channel. I'd be more than happy to help out. Have a good day, guys.